This is New Age Outlaws.
Hey, this is Steve Gunn from New Age Outlaws, and I was fortunate enough to have a great sit-down chat with Orville Peck on May 24th before his Edmonton show at the Starlight Room. It was on the tail end of a 3-month tour that saw him hit the UK, Europe, the States, and of course, Canada. We talked about songwriting, legends, and what is next for the masked man known as Orville Peck. You can check out his website, orvillepeck.com, for all merchandise, future tour dates, and where you can buy and listen to his music. Hope you enjoy. All right, this is Steve Gunn here for New Age Outlaws, and I am sitting with Orville Peck.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
This is great. I appreciate you taking the time on such short notice here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Okay, so I'm going to start off here. I don't really like using the term overnight success because I think it undermines, the literal decades of work that it takes to, hone your craft. But, you released your album Pony on Sub Pop and Royal Mountain Records back in March. And ever since then, it's kind of been nonstop for you. It's kind of taken off a bit. How are you handling the momentum, and what seems to be the constant touring?
I'm handling it well as I can. I think it's pretty overwhelming at times, but in a good way. I think we've all been pretty overwhelmed by it. We've sold out every show so far, and so. That's been obviously very exciting to play to like a packed house is always nice. I've played in bands before where sometimes there was just the band and the sound engineer and like one person in the room.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah. So, I've definitely done it that way. I come from like a DIY background and played in many different bands. So it's pretty exciting that, right off the bat, the support has been so good, which is, a lot of the times takes a long time to kind of get that. So that's been really lovely. I think it's just nice that, it just seems like the album really connects with people, which is, more than I could ever ask for, that not only do people show up and like the music, but they seem to really connect with it on like a personal level. So that's really, really, really special. Right.
Because I think there's a unique sense of openness to your writing. Like you're very raw, you're very honest. And I think because of that, you're really able to, get inside and pluck the heartstrings of your audience. Can you remember the first time you heard a song where you understood it was about heartache? And do you remember what kind of effect it had on you? I mean, did it lead to this style of songwriting, or have you always been a bit of an open book that way?
It's funny. I think I have a tendency to be a bit of a closed book in a lot of ways. Like, I think I grew up quite a bit of a loner, and with the kind of like a bit of a drifter's, vibe, I guess. I traveled around loads since I was a kid. I lived in many different countries and cities. And so I think I've always had my guard up a lot. And, it's funny because with this project, I finally kind of felt like I had the confidence to write and sing about stuff that is very personal to me. And that's not always easy for me to do. And so I haven't really always been that way. So, getting to do that on this album has been very kind of cathartic for me in a lot of ways. And I think I always listen to a lot of kind of heartbreaking music. I think it just goes with the territory. especially with like, country, of course. I think, one of the most heartbreaking kind of figures that I'm inspired by, just in general is, Roy Orbison, obviously. And I think the thing that was really like heartbreaking about Roy Orbison is that it's not that he was necessarily singing about, being brokenhearted over romance or whatever, of course, over women or whatever he sang about. But, I know that he really struggled with his image, with his physical image, and he really struggled with himself and his identity. And so I think that's kind of more heartbreaking than anything. If you hear some of those songs, even a song like Pretty Woman, which is like, arguably overplayed to some people, but I think that's probably his most heartbreaking song. And I can kind of relate to that in a lot of ways. I think Pony is a lot about heartbreak, but it's not necessarily about heartbreak over, romance or other people. It's kind of heartbreak about myself and
more internal heartbreak.
Yeah, things that are like, I've struggled with my whole life. And so I think that's maybe what other people connect with as well about the record.
Well, do you feel, since you've put them to tape, do you feel more at peace with those things that were bothering you?
Definitely. And, it's like I said before, it's really cathartic, and it's kind of, I feel like it's like group therapy at my shows, because I'll look out and see like, loads of people singing along, and I can see that they're really, connecting to it. And it's like, the lyrics that I can see they feel something about it. And so it's I mean, it definitely it helps me with that. I mean, as I said, I feel like I write and come from a kind of like marginalized place, and I tend to be a bit of like a loner. So having all of that support, it's ironic, but it really is quite nice.
See, and just a few days ago, you got to play a show with Patrick Haggerty in Lavender Country.
Yeah.
And he's been an icon and hero to so many for generations. Mm-hmm. What was it like sharing the stage with him? Like not only on the same bill, but being able to join him for a Hank Williams song as well.
Oh my God. It was kind of a hectic evening because I mean, quite frankly, like I've been a big fan of Lavender Country since I was about 19 years old, and so a long time now. And I never even really thought I would get to see them live, because he recently he's been playing a bit more, but he used to play shows very kind of sporadically and really only in Seattle. So I never even knew if I'd ever have the opportunity to catch him perform. Never mind on the same bill. Never mind actually sing a duet with him and be, talking to this guy on the phone every week. And like, I mean, it was just unreal. I never get stage fright. I've been a performer since I was a little kid. And like, I was like sweating bullets backstage. We sang Hey Good Lookin', which is like, the easiest song on the planet. And I was like forgetting the words and like pacing up and down. I mean, I was really, really nervous because I don't know. I've just never really...
Well, surreal.
Yeah, it was completely surreal. It was completely surreal. It was completely inspiring. And I mean, he is just like the funniest, kindest, most intelligent and well-spoken person. He swears like crazy. I mean, you could never have him on a show that was like live or something. I mean, they would like get thrown out.
Button for the reason.
Oh man, it's crazy. Like he is the most incredible person, and he really has paved a way that like, people see him as a cult figure, kind of like an underground artist, but I mean, he's paved a way that, really allowed for people like me or anyone to really, may have a subversive alternative voice in country music.
And do you kind of feel that show was almost like a passing of the torch almost, or more of like a collaboration, like you can still do things together?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it's probably the latter. I hope. I mean, we still are talking a lot. He doesn't like to email or text, so he's like, oh, you gotta call me. I don't want to use the computer. So I phone him and he talks to me for, we talk for like 45 minutes on the phone, and he's like, the phone's getting like more and more distant, and he's like pressing buttons and swearing like crazy. But I mean, he's like the best. He's just the best, and it really does feel quite like too good to be true in some ways. Where, like I said before, I never thought I would ever even get to kind of be in the same room as that person. Never mind talking to them on the phone. It's pretty wild.
That's awesome. And finally, I know you just released the album a few months ago, and that you're in the middle of a tour right now, and then you're going back overseas in the fall. But do you know what's next for Orville Peck? Do you know, are there any plans already for record number 2? Do you know what's come down the pipe? I mean, you just announced a show today at the Calgary Stampede, opening for Feist on the Coca-Cola stage. Yeah. So that's pretty awesome.
Pretty excited about that. Yeah, there's a few more kind of exciting things going on in the mix coming up show-wise that I'm really excited about and kind of like overwhelmed by. That being one of them, which is kind of, his dream of mine to play the Calgary Stampede and do it my way, I think that's pretty exciting. And I think... Yeah, I mean, I've written a bunch of new songs that are kind of in the works. I think hopefully in the new year, I'm going to go down to Nashville and start working on the new record with the band over there. And hopefully that'll be out, sooner than later. I don't like to wait too long. I'm a pretty impatient person, so I think as people probably know from my songs, but I don't like to settle into anything for too long. It makes me anxious. So I think people could probably expect music sooner than they would think.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and have a great show tonight.
Thanks so much.
NewAgeOutlaws.ca